Picture this. You're on your dream cruise when bam, a $3,200 surprise bill hits your account. Or you're watching your ship sail away while you're stuck on the dock with your luggage. These aren't made-up horror stories. They're real disasters from passengers who made mistakes ex-cruise employees witnessed over and over during their time at sea. I've talked to former crew from Royal Caribbean, Carnival, and Celebrity, people who've seen the same costly mistakes over and over. Today, I'm revealing the 13 biggest blunders these insiders warn you to never make. These aren't typical cruise tips. These are insider secrets that could save your vacation and your bank account. Some mistakes are so common that crew members actually cringe watching passengers make them. And whatever you do, don't skip mistake number 11. That one could literally leave you stranded. Lucy Southerton, a Birmingham native who worked cruise ships for 9 years, says this is the #1 mistake she witnessed destroy people's vacations. She's seen families board thinking everything's covered, only to get slammed with bills that made grown adults cry at guest services. Here's the brutal reality. That all-inclusive cruise you think you booked? It's not even close. Sure, your basic meals and cabin are covered, but literally everything else costs extra. We're talking about specialty restaurants, drinks beyond basic coffee and water, Wi-Fi, shore excursions, spa treatments, photos, and even some activities. One family Lucy worked with racked up over $3,200 in surprise charges during just a 7-day Caribbean cruise. The dad was so shocked he actually asked if there was a mistake on the bill. There wasn't. The cruise lines are brilliant at this psychological trick. They advertise these seemingly affordable base prices, but they're banking on you spending 2 to 3 times that amount once you're trapped on the ship. And here's the kicker. You can't exactly hop off and find cheaper alternatives when you're in the middle of the ocean. They've got you exactly where they want you, and your wallet is about to feel it. Before you even step foot on that ship, research every single thing that costs extra and create a realistic daily spending budget. Lucy recommends adding at least $100 per person per day on top of your cruise fare for a comfortable experience. And that's being conservative. But budgeting won't save you from mistake number 2, which could leave you watching your dream vacation sail away without you. This one breaks my heart every time I hear about it. Picture this. You've saved up for months, maybe even years for this cruise. You book a morning flight thinking you'll have plenty of time to make it to the port, but then your flight gets delayed by just 2 hours. Traffic is worse than expected, and suddenly you're sprinting through the terminal with your luggage bouncing behind you. You arrive at the port, sweating and stressed, only to be told the gangway closed 90 minutes ago. That's it. Game over. No exceptions, no sob stories. No amount of begging will get you on that ship. Former cruise workers say this is one of the most devastating scenes they witness. Watching people realize their entire vacation just vanished because of one scheduling gamble that didn't pay off. The cruise industry veteran who worked for over a decade put it perfectly. The gangway closes 90 minutes before departure, no exceptions. I've seen grown adults break down in tears at the pier, and there's absolutely nothing anyone can do. Your ship is gone, your money is gone, and you're stuck figuring out how to get home or catch up with the ship at the next port, which could cost thousands more. Here's what seasoned cruisers do instead. They fly in at least 1 day early, sometimes 2 if it's an international cruise. Yes, it costs extra for a hotel room, but that's pocket change compared to losing your entire vacation. Plus, you get to explore the departure city and start your vacation stress-free instead of in panic mode. But even if you make it onto the ship on time, mistake number 3 could still financially devastate you in ways you never saw coming. What is your experience with flying on the embarkation day? Let us know in the comments. Listen, I get it. You've already spent a fortune on the cruise, and then they try to sell you travel insurance for another couple $100. It feels like just another money grab, so you click no thanks and move on. But former cruise employees are practically screaming at you not to make this mistake. Here's a real Reddit horror story that went viral. A couple on their honeymoon cruise to the Bahamas. One of them started having severe stomach pain and had to go to the ship's medical center. Want to know what a single COVID test costs on a cruise ship? $274 just for the test. The total medical bill for what should have been a simple stomach issue? Over $800. And that was considered cheap. But it gets worse. If you need to be airlifted off the ship for a medical emergency, you're looking at costs in the high 5 figures. We're talking $50,000 to $100,000. One cruise worker shared a story about a passenger who had a heart attack mid-cruise. The medical evacuation back to the States cost the family $87,000. $87,000 for a helicopter ride. And here's something most people don't realize. Your regular health insurance probably doesn't cover you once you leave U.S. waters. Medicare and Medicaid, useless on a cruise ship. You're essentially gambling with your financial future every time you step on that ship without coverage. Travel insurance isn't just about medical emergencies either. What happens if you're 24 weeks pregnant and show up to board? Most cruise lines won't let you on. And without insurance, you're out the entire cost of the cruise. Same thing if your baby is under 6 months old. The fix is simple. Buy comprehensive travel insurance that covers medical evacuation and trip cancellation. Yes, it costs money up front, but it's nothing compared to what you could lose. Speaking of losing money, mistake number 4 is about missing out on experiences that sell out before you even unpack your bags. Ali Kerr, a dancer and singer who's worked on over 100 cruise ships, calls this one of the worst things that could happen to your vacation. She's watched it destroy trip after trip, and here's exactly how it goes down. You board the ship feeling relaxed and spontaneous. We'll figure out what to do when we get there, you tell yourself. Big mistake. While you're unpacking and getting settled in, everyone else is frantically booking every single restaurant reservation and activity slot available. By dinner time on day 1, everything you actually wanted to do is completely sold out. The first day on board is absolute chaos. Everyone's trying to book shore excursions, get their internet sorted, reserve specialty restaurants, and snag spots for popular activities. The cruise lines deliberately limit availability to create this feeding frenzy. And if you're not prepared, you're going to be the one left out. Lucy, that 9-year cruise veteran we talked about earlier, puts it perfectly. People would wait until the night that they wanted to go to a restaurant and then be really disappointed when it was fully booked. She's seen passengers literally beg the staff to squeeze them in somewhere, anywhere, because they didn't realize how fast everything disappears. Think about it. There are 3,000 people on that ship, but the specialty steakhouse only has 200 seats. The dolphin swimming excursion? Maybe 40 spots total. The chef's table experience? 12 people max. Do the math. Here's what the pros do. They book everything they might want to do before they even step foot on the ship. Most cruise lines let you reserve activities and restaurants online weeks in advance. Sure, you can cancel if you change your mind, but at least you've got options. Because once you're on board and everything's sold out, your only choice is whatever's left over. And trust me, what's left over after everyone else has picked through the options isn't what you came on vacation to experience. This one might seem obvious, but Pippa Madden, who worked for Royal Caribbean and Celebrity Cruises for 8 years, says this is the mistake that absolutely infuriates crew members the most. And here's why it's costing you way more than you realize. That crew member you just snapped at because your cabin wasn't ready, they're not the person who created the policy. They're just doing their job, often on very little sleep, working 7 days a week for months at a time. But here's what you don't know. That same crew member could be your ticket to experiences money can't buy. Former cruise director who managed a 3,600-person ship puts it perfectly. We'll always do our best to help you, but we won't be motivated to go above and beyond for you. Keep in mind that some events, such as dinner with the captain, are by invitation only or are not advertised, and having a crew member to help you get your name on the golden ticket could make your cruise experience something out of this world. Think about it. These crew members control everything from room upgrades to getting you into sold-out shows. They know which restaurants have last-minute cancellations, which excursions still have spots, and they can even help you get invited to exclusive events that most passengers never even hear about. But they're only going to go the extra mile for passengers who treat them like human beings. One former employee shared that they've seen rude passengers get the bare minimum service, while polite ones got surprise cabin upgrades, complimentary specialty restaurant meals, and behind-the-scenes tours. The crew talks to each other and word spreads fast about which passengers are worth helping and which ones aren't. The fix is simple. Be genuinely nice. Say please and thank you. Learn your room steward's name. If something goes wrong, approach it with patience instead of anger. Remember, they're people working incredibly hard to make your vacation amazing, not robots programmed to take abuse. But being nice to the crew won't protect you from mistake number 6, which could cost you hundreds of dollars in a single day. Here's a story that'll make your wallet hurt just hearing it. A Royal Caribbean passenger shared on Reddit how they ran up a $700 bar tab on just a 3-night cruise. $700 in 3 days. They said they didn't even feel like they went that hard at it. But when you're paying $15 for a cocktail and $8 for a beer, it adds up faster than you can say another round. But here's the kicker. Royal Caribbean and other major cruise lines have completely eliminated onboard discounts for drink packages. Zero. Zilch. Nada. If you didn't buy it before you stepped on that ship, you're paying full price. This is a massive change from how it used to work, and cruise lines are banking on passengers not knowing about it. Former cruise employees revealed that this is completely intentional. They've watched passengers get sticker shock at the bar, then desperately try to buy a drink package to save money, only to discover it costs exactly the same as it did months ago when they were booking their cruise. No last-minute deals, no "we'll help you out" discounts. And here's what makes it even more brutal. Once you're on that ship, you're a captive audience. You can't exactly run to the corner store for cheaper drinks. The cruise lines know this, and they're using that psychological pressure to maximize their profits. One former employee said they regularly saw passengers spending more on drinks in a week than they spent on their entire cruise fare. The math is simple but painful. Let's say you drink 4 alcoholic beverages a day on a 7-day cruise. At $15 each, that's $420. But if you had bought the drink package in advance for maybe $250, you would have saved yourself almost $200. The smart move? Buy your drink package when you book your cruise, or at least before you board. Even if you're not sure you'll drink enough to make it worth it, you can usually cancel it before your cruise with no penalty. But once you're on board, you're stuck paying whatever they want to charge. And speaking of getting hit with unexpected charges, let's talk about mistake number 7. This one involves your phone and could cost you thousands. This mistake is so common that former cruise employees say it ruins more vacations than almost anything else. And it happens in the first 5 minutes you're on the ship. You board, you're excited, you want to text your family that you made it safely. You hit send, and you've just triggered a financial nightmare that won't show up until you get your phone bill a month later. Here's the brutal reality. If you don't put your phone in airplane mode before you board, those innocent text messages and calls are getting charged as international roaming. We're talking about $25 per text message, $15 per minute for calls, and sometimes over $100 per day just for your phone to connect to the ship's satellite network without you even using it. One cruise passenger shared their horror story online. They forgot to turn off cellular data and racked up over $2,000 in roaming charges during a 7-day Caribbean cruise. $2,000 for checking Instagram and sending a few photos to friends. Their phone was quietly downloading app updates and syncing photos in the background while they slept, and each megabyte was costing them a fortune. But here's where it gets even worse. Even incoming text messages can cost you money. Someone texts you, "Have fun on your cruise," and boom, you're charged for receiving it. Your phone automatically checks for emails, more charges, those app notifications popping up, you're paying for every single one. Former cruise workers say they've seen passengers get phone bills that cost more than their entire vacation. One family got hit with a $4,000 phone bill after their teenager didn't realize their phone was still connected to cellular data. $4,000 for 1 week of casual phone use. The solution is simple, but you have to do it before you board. Put your phone in airplane mode, then turn on Wi-Fi. If you want to stay connected, buy the ship's internet package, which typically costs $30 to $50 per day, but at least has a cap on it. Or better yet, just disconnect completely and enjoy being unreachable for a few days. But even if you handle your phone perfectly, mistake number 8 could still strand you in a foreign port. Natalie Derflinger thought she had everything figured out. She was enjoying a relaxing lunch near the pier in Cozumel, taking her time because she knew exactly when the ship was supposed to leave. What she didn't know was that MSC Divina had changed their departure time, and she was about to watch her cruise ship literally sail away without her. She sat there in complete disbelief as her floating hotel disappeared over the horizon. 1 minute she was having a pleasant meal, the next minute she was stranded in Mexico with no way to get home and no idea how to catch up with her cruise. Former cruise employees say this is one of the most heartbreaking things they witness because it's completely avoidable, but passengers make the same mistake over and over again. They check the departure time once when they get off the ship and never look again. But cruise itineraries change constantly. Weather delays, port issues, mechanical problems, and that all aboard time can shift by hours without much notice. Here's what makes it even worse. If you miss the ship, you're completely on your own. The cruise line isn't paying for your hotel, your flights, or your meals. You have to figure out how to get to the next port and rejoin the cruise entirely at your own expense. We're talking thousands of dollars in emergency travel costs, and that's if you can even manage to catch up at all. One cruise veteran who worked ships for over a decade shared that they've seen passengers spend more money trying to catch up with their cruise than they spent on the original vacation. Flying from a random Caribbean island to the next port can cost $1,500 or more on short notice, plus hotels, meals, and ground transportation. The fix is simple but critical. Always double-check your departure time before you leave the ship for any port. Don't rely on what you read yesterday or last week. Check it every single time. Most ships post the current times right by the gangway, and crew members can always confirm the latest schedule. And here's the insider tip. Get back to the ship at least 1 hour before the official departure time. That gives you a buffer for unexpected delays like traffic, long taxi lines, or getting lost trying to find your way back to the port. But even if you make it back to the ship on time, mistake number 9 could prevent you from boarding at all. Meet the Coates family. They booked what they thought would be the trip of a lifetime. A cruise from Tokyo through Asia, hitting multiple countries they'd always dreamed of visiting. They did everything right. Booked early, got their passports updated, packed perfectly. What they didn't do was check the visa requirements for every single country on their itinerary. Everything started perfectly. Tokyo was amazing, South Korea was incredible, and they were having the time of their lives. Then halfway through the cruise, crew members knocked on their door with devastating news. They needed to pack their bags immediately and get off the ship, permanently. It turns out they didn't have the proper visas for the next destination, and nobody caught the mistake until mid-cruise. Holland America Line didn't offer any sympathy, any partial refunds, or any help getting home. The Coates family was forced to find their own flights back to the United States from wherever the ship happened to be, and they lost every penny they'd paid for the cruise. Former cruise employees say this happens more often than you'd think because passengers assume that if they can book the cruise, they must be allowed to visit all the destinations. That's absolutely not how it works. Visa requirements are completely separate from cruise bookings, and it's entirely your responsibility to figure out what you need for every single country. Here's what makes it even trickier. Some countries have different visa requirements depending on how you're entering. You might not need a visa if you're flying into a country as a tourist, but you absolutely need one if you're arriving by cruise ship. The rules are different, the processing times are different, and the requirements can be completely different. And don't think you can just skip the ports where you don't have proper documentation. Most cruise lines will force you to disembark entirely if you're not legally allowed to be in their next destination. They're not going to risk getting in trouble with foreign governments over your visa mistake. The solution is tedious but essential. Research every single country on your itinerary months before you travel. Check visa requirements, processing times, and any special rules for cruise passengers. Some visas can take weeks or even months to process, so this isn't something you can leave until the last minute. But even with perfect documentation, mistake number 10 could leave you carrying your luggage around the ship for hours. Picture this nightmare scenario. You've packed your entire wardrobe into 3 massive suitcases because, hey, it's a 7-day cruise and you want options. You drag all that luggage through the airport, pay extra baggage fees, struggle to get it all to the ship, and then the porter offers to take it to your room. You think, no thanks, I'll keep it with me. Big mistake. Huge. What you don't realize is that your stateroom won't be ready for hours. The cleaning crew is still working, your bed isn't made, and your key cards aren't even activated yet. So now you're stuck dragging 3 giant suitcases around a crowded ship with thousands of other passengers, trying to find somewhere to sit, getting in everyone's way, and feeling like an absolute fool. A cruise worker with over 7 years of experience says this is one of the most painful mistakes they watch passengers make. Lots of passengers opt to keep their luggage on them, but many don't know that their stateroom won't be ready for hours, so they're stuck carrying their suitcases around the crowded ship. But it gets worse. When you finally do get to your cabin, you discover it's about the size of a walk-in closet. There's barely enough room for 2 people to stand up, let alone storage space for 3 massive suitcases worth of clothes. You've brought formal wear for every night, casual clothes for everyday activity, workout gear, beach gear, excursion outfits, and backup options for everything. None of it fits anywhere. Former cruise employees say they regularly see passengers who've packed so much stuff that they can't even move around their cabin comfortably. One worker shared that they've seen families with luggage piled so high on the tiny beds that there was literally nowhere to sleep until they spent hours reorganizing everything. Here's the reality check you need. Most cruise ships have laundry facilities, and you're probably going to wear the same few comfortable outfits over and over again anyway. That formal wear you pack for every single night, most people end up wearing the same dress or suit multiple times because nobody cares and nobody's keeping track. The smart approach is to check your ship's website and plan your outfits based on the actual dress codes and activities. Color coordinates so you can mix and match pieces instead of bringing entirely different outfits for every occasion. And for the love of all that's holy, let the porters take your luggage to your room. Speaking of your room, mistake number 11 involves choosing the wrong location and could leave you sleepless and miserable for your entire cruise. Remember when I warned you about mistake number 11? Here it is, and it could literally ruin every single night of your cruise. You see that amazing deal on a cabin and think you've scored big. The price is too good to pass up, so you book it without looking at the deck plans. Congratulations, you just bought yourself a week of absolute misery. Here's what nobody tells you when you're booking. Cabin location is everything. That great deal you found? It's probably located directly above the nightclub that pumps bass-heavy music until 2 in the morning, every single night. Or maybe it's right next to the elevator bank, where you'll hear ding, 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 and the sound of rolling luggage and loud conversations literally 24 hours a day. One cruise veteran who worked ships for a decade shares the horror stories. Cabins near elevators mean constant foot traffic, while those above nightclubs vibrate until 2 a.m. They've had passengers literally beg to be moved to different rooms because the noise was so unbearable they couldn't sleep for days. But it gets worse. Some cabins are located near the ship's engine room, where you'll hear constant mechanical humming and vibrations. Others are positioned under the pool deck, so you get to listen to deck chairs being dragged around starting at 6 in the morning, plus screaming kids and loud pool games all day long. There are cabins right next to the laundry facilities where industrial washing machines run around the clock. And here's a nightmare scenario most people never consider. Some cabins are located near the garbage and recycling areas. Imagine trying to enjoy your morning coffee on your balcony while listening to glass bottles being crushed and garbage trucks emptying dumpsters. The smell alone can make certain outdoor spaces completely unusable. Former employees say the cruise lines know exactly which cabins have these problems, which is why they're always the ones offered at steep discounts. They're not being generous. They're trying to get rid of rooms they know will generate complaints. The solution takes 5 minutes but could save your entire vacation. Before you book any cabin, study the ship's deck plans carefully. Look at what's above you, what's below you, and what's next to you. Avoid anything near elevators, nightclubs, pools, theaters, engine rooms, or service areas. Yes, these better located cabins cost more, but trust me, sleep is worth every penny. And speaking of things that cost more than you expect, mistake number 12 involves getting to those amazing destinations. You've made it to paradise. The ship docks in this gorgeous Caribbean port. You can practically taste the adventure, and you're ready to explore. You walk off the ship with no plan except, we'll figure it out when we get there. 20 minutes later, you're getting hustled by aggressive taxi drivers quoting prices that would make your mortgage payment blush. This is where things go sideways fast. That friendly taxi driver who approached you at the pier, he just quoted you $80 to go to a beach that's literally 15 minutes away. When you try to negotiate, suddenly he doesn't speak English as well as he did 30 seconds ago. Another driver jumps in offering $75, then another at $70, and now you're in the middle of a bidding war where you're still getting ripped off by everyone involved. Former cruise employees who've worked these routes for years say this is one of the most common disasters they hear about from passengers. One shared that they've seen tourists pay $150 for a custom island tour that was basically a 20-minute drive to a public beach where they got dropped off with no way back except to call the same expensive taxi. But here's what makes it even worse. You're working against the clock. Your ship leaves at a specific time whether you're on it or not, so you don't have the luxury of shopping around for better deals or figuring out public transportation. The taxi drivers know this, and they're absolutely going to use that time pressure to squeeze every dollar they can out of you. And let's talk about the ride back. That driver who promised to pick you up at 4 o'clock, sometimes they show up, sometimes they don't, and sometimes they show up an hour late with a car full of other tourists, turning your relaxing day into a panicked race against time to make it back to the ship. A cruise veteran with over a decade of experience put it perfectly. Just be sure to negotiate the price and time before hopping in. Make sure to get back to the boat at least 30 minutes before boarding time. But even better advice? Research your transportation options before you even book the cruise. Most ports have official taxi rates posted somewhere, and many destinations have reliable shuttle services, local buses, or ride-sharing apps that cost a fraction of what the pier taxi drivers charge. Some ports even have free shuttles to popular beaches or downtown areas. The smart move is to spend 10 minutes on Google before you reach each port. Know the fair price for getting to popular destinations, have backup transportation options, and always build in extra time for delays. But even if you master the transportation game, our final mistake could put your health and finances at serious risk. Here's our final mistake, and it's the one that could literally cost you your life. You're feeling sick on the ship, so you head to the medical center thinking you're in good hands. The doctor examines you, says it's probably just seasickness or something you ate, gives you some medicine, and sends you on your way. You trust their judgment completely because, hey, they're a doctor on a cruise ship, right? Wrong. Here's what former cruise medical staff won't tell you. Ship medical centers are basically fancy first aid stations. They're designed to handle minor injuries, basic illnesses, and stabilize patients until they can get to a real hospital on land. That doctor you're seeing? They might have very limited experience with serious conditions, outdated equipment, and no access to the diagnostic tools that could actually save your life. Remember that Reddit story about the couple who got hit with the $800 medical bill for a stomach issue? That wasn't just expensive, it was potentially dangerous. The ship's medical center couldn't do proper testing, couldn't run comprehensive blood work, and couldn't perform the imaging studies that might have revealed something serious. One former cruise employee shared a chilling story about a passenger who kept returning to the medical center with chest pain. The ship's doctor kept dismissing it as anxiety or indigestion. When they finally reached port and the passenger went to a real hospital, they discovered he'd been having a series of small heart attacks. The delay in proper diagnosis could have been fatal. Here's the brutal reality. Cruise ship medical facilities are not equipped to handle serious emergencies. If you're having a heart attack, a stroke, or any major medical crisis, the best they can do is try to keep you alive until they can airlift you to a proper hospital. And remember those medical evacuation costs we talked about earlier? We're back to those $50,000 to $100,000 helicopter rides. The insurance gaps make this even scarier. Most travel insurance policies have strict limits on what they'll cover for onboard medical treatment, and they often exclude certain types of care entirely. You could be facing massive medical bills on top of inadequate treatment. If you have any serious medical conditions, don't rely on the ship's medical center for anything beyond basic care. If something feels seriously wrong, demand to be taken to the nearest port for proper medical attention. Yes, it might ruin your cruise, but it could save your life. So there you have it. 13 cruise mistakes that could turn your dream vacation into an absolute nightmare. Every single one of these is completely avoidable if you just know what you're walking into. If this video just saved you from even one of these costly mistakes, smash that like button and subscribe for more insider travel tips. Now here's what I want you to do. Type "smooth sailing" in the comments if you made it to the end. Then tell me about your own cruise experiences. Have you fallen for any of these mistakes? Did you witness other passengers making them? I read every comment and love hearing your stories. I also reply on the comments I love the most. Thanks for watching and happy cruising.